is lowered into the water, filled with the water, and then the weight affords it to be lifted into the higher level, and then the water is poured into the field. But the man now has a little Suzuki pump, which is much more efficient and shadoof.
Private lesson. Please, all the group follow Tariq. You come. Private lesson. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey there, waiting for
My God.
Now visiting Dendera. And the goddess of Dendera is?
Isis.
The goddess of Dendera is?
Isis.
Hathor.
Hathor. And what is a temple? An ancient Egyptian temple? What is an ancient Egyptian temple?
Home of the
Home of the god. Yes. Home of the god.
That's what I said.
But in this case, it's the home of the goddess.
Thank God.
Okay.
No wonder it's so pretty.
So here we are visiting the temple of the goddess Hathor at Dendera. And on the way coming over, my dad explained to you a little bit about the temple, about an ancient Egyptian temple, as well as explained a little bit about the goddess Hathor. The goddess Hathor was the wife of Horus, and Horus was the son of Isis and Osiris. Okay, and the goddess Hathor is the one that we saw yesterday at the temple of Abydos. That was a woman, and she had the horns of the cow and the disc of the sun. And we said that Hathor and Isis can be easily identified with each other, and we can the figure can either be Isis or Hathor, and Isis is only identified with having the chair on top of her head, whereas Hathor, we know her name through the inscription. So this is the main center cult for the goddess Hathor here, and she was the goddess of beauty and joy and happiness, and she was the goddess of love. Yes, Clay.
Waiting all this time.
Yes, you were waiting all this time. The goddess of love and beauty and joy and happiness, and she was the mother goddess. So later on she was identified and known in Greek mythology as the goddess Aphrodite, and then later on she was known as Venus as well. So she was quite a celebrated goddess in Egypt, and we are going to see her figures all over. When we go to all the temples that we shall visit, we will see many representations of Hathor everywhere. Horus would be taken out of the temple, and it would come here to visit his wife twice a year, and he would always, so this was the remarriage which would take place twice a year here in the temple. Then the barge of the goddess Hathor would be taken to Idfu, And these were sort of embassies that were sent from one temple to the other for visits, and great religious celebrations would take place always in these temples. So the two temples of Edfu and Dendera are the two most complete temples we have in Egypt. Yes? We're standing in that open court where the portal that we walked through was originally Roman. It's a pro-pylon. It's not a pylon, but it's just a gate that was built here, and we have names of the Emperor Trajan written on it, as well as you can see that right and left of this portal we have the thick mud brick enclosure wall, which then surrounded the whole temple, and you can see some of the enclosure wall over there. Now this enclosure wall is also called the Temenos wall, and that we are going to see it much clearer when we go on top of the temple and look at it. You're going to see that it's divided. Part of it is divided into several stories where the high priest used to live, and then people lived inside the enclosure wall later on. And you'd notice that here you can see. It is interesting because it is the first part of the interior temple, which is the Hypostyle Hall. It is the hall that is filled with columns. It corresponds with the first Hypostyle Hall that we saw yesterday at Abydos. But here it is. We can see that it is executed in a different way. We have the columns, but instead of having the floral capitals on top, we have the figures of the goddess Hathor, figures of the head of the goddess Hathor represented here. We can see that the capitals of the columns show the full face of the goddess. She was the woman. It shows us the full face of the goddess right here. And since she was also known as she was the cow goddess, then she's represented with the ears of a cow. A view and panorama of the whole site. Now, before we do that, I'd like take photos, flash, with flash.
With flash.
Joy, take
Wow.
flash. Yes. So we are standing in the Hypostyle Hall, the temple, and here you can see the columns with the so-called Hathoric capitals, showing the figures of the full face of goddess Hathor on four sides, and forming the actual capital of the column. So, how many columns do we have here? Columns of every Hypostyle Hall that we visit in all the temples, so that we can compare their sizes. Okay? So this is considered to be a very large Hypostyle Hall of the temple. Now, this has a very interesting ceiling, and this that runs along the transept of the temple, which is along the main axis going I'd like you also to notice that we are now walking through the temple at its original ground level. Tonight, when I'll show you the slides of the temples in the 19th century, how they looked in the 19th century, okay, you will see, you will know the amount of excavations that took place in these temples, clear enough so that we built them the way we're doing it today.
Okay. In that corner you will see the hands of the sky gods. Alright? In this corner, the inner corner, you will see the head of the sky gods. Okay? In that corner you will see the bottom of the sky gods. Okay? So the body of the sky goddess is a band that is adjacent to the wall behind us. Okay? So she is doing this way. If you want to, imagine that I am the sky goddess, she is something like that. So, that is the sky. Now, there you can see the sun, with its wing about to enter into her mouth. She's going to swallow it, and here she has given birth to the sun. And you can see the sun with the rays coming and lighting up a face of Hathor on an edifice, which indicates the temple of Dendera. Alright? That's part one. Part two. You turn boats, one that has these four boats, and the other has some boats and some other figures, and each boat and each group of figures represents one of the Egyptian constellations. So these are the Egyptian constellations. So the whole sky is depicted in this part, with the exception of the completely different cases. The moon rises by day and could set by day or rise by night. On all over the bull, where you can see the bull is carrying a crescent. That is the one of these.
I'll put my head down again.
In this astronomical representation. Now, if you all 8 gods and goddesses who represent the groups of stars which are added to the Egyptian hemisphere, and consequently a group of stars is subtracted from the hemisphere on the other side every 10 days.
Where are we looking?
Pardon? We are looking at that point here between the pillars and on that side. A little bit. So they are the limit of the Hypostyle Hall, and the Hall of Appearances goes in a little bit. That part that goes in and consequently the Hypostyle Hall overlaps can be seen here. Thank you for your the Hall of Appearances comes to project into the Hypostyle Hall, and this is the door which goes up and across, and then also penetrates this wall and is interfered on the outside, and you will see it going all the way till the far limit to the end of the Hall of Appearances, which is here. So if the Hypostyle Hall with the 24 colors has not been built, then this would be a facade worthy of the elements which are embraced by it inside. These elements are sanctuary, and in it is the temple proper, the sacred lake, the house of birth, and etc. Now we are in the temple proper. Let's go into the Hall of Appearances.
Well, this is the Hall of Appearances, and this hall is much smaller than the Hypostyle Hall that we were just standing in. You will notice that the columns here are different from the ones that we just saw. the lower parts of the columns, lower parts of the columns up to here are built of granite stone, and then the upper parts continues all the way up in, they are made of sandstone. And you notice that the capitals of these columns are floral capital. It's the kind of capital that we call composite, and that is typical of the Greco-Roman capitals of the Greco-Roman period, is that they are very heavy with floral patterns, and they are all carved on different levels. It's formed still by these blocks of stone running along the axis of the temple, or parallel to the axis of the temple. Whereas over there they were running across. And you notice that the ceiling has decoration, and this decoration is all representing the sky and its stars. And here, except for the middle part, which is on top, above me, and that is where we have the vultures winged for protection. But then here we have the Holy of Holies, the main sanctuary of the temple. You notice that since it is an independent unit in the temple, then it also has a torus that starts there and runs all across and comes down on the other side. Even the entrance has its own torus as well, running around the entrance. And then it has this concave cornice running across, and then there's also another one on top of that. And here, door here that closed. This door was done, made out of one piece of wood, and please come forward. You want to take a photo of a relief like this. So the sanctuary has these representations, which are typical of what one would find in a sanctuary. Remember yesterday at Abydos? They are the same representations, but it's for the goddess Hathor. We have the king represented here. He is holding an incense burner, and he is throwing the incense into the incense burner, and here we have the fire, and he is burning incense in front of the sanctuary. You can see it is represented here, and it has some decorations of cobras right here. And inside the sanctuary there is a pedestal where there is this sledge where the barge of the goddess will be placed with the shrine inside and the statuette inside of that. And the barge is, of course, the barge of the goddess Hathor. You can see her figure here, her head here, on the fore and aft of the barge. But then we have another barge represented right here in the shrine. And that is the barge of the god Horus, because it is here where the barge of the god Horus came from the temple of Hathor, where he was worshipped, to visit his wife here, and the festival takes place.
Yeah, but I think
Yes.
and the dress of the sky goddess is primeval waters. Is representing the zigzag of primeval waters. And then again on the lintel there are representation of the decanal gods, the gods of the 10 days. The stars of every 10 days represented in that part. You can see the determinate star over the head of one.
Yeah. That's the rest of it.
They didn't know what.
Back where the sacred room was, and then
Yeah.
back on the side back, where I follow the tourist back, and then there's a step, go down underneath.
Yes, these are very small crypts.
Oh, just small
Crypts, yes, for hiding. And then the rooms that surround the sanctuary are for visiting gods and goddesses who come from other gods. And so they are, yes, rooms. Yes.
Oh, she's sitting,
Okay.
standing and bending over.
It's all the way around.
Yeah, you know, your feet are here.
Whatever you want. Yeah.
No problem.
You transfer it to VHS, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
At right corners, so it's sort of a square spiral stairway that takes you to the top. And then we are going to go over the Hypostyle Hall, see the whole area. And then we are going to come down by a continuous ramp, another set of steps, which is at the other side. And this is where you may need your flashlights just to make it easier for you to Thank
It's really easier than a ramp.
I thought maybe you'd been up here before, since you didn't think you did with the flashlight. You thought I'd hit these tracks. You and some of the early Christians, huh? Oh, we're up here already. You couldn't see this stuff. I really think, though, that you are one to believe in reason rather than faith. Is it something? Coptic?
Goodness, we're up here already. On the whole part.
That's a shame.
Somebody was worshipping.
And you'll fall a lot of it.
Okay, you want to see the sacred lake?
No diving allowed. No diving. Last one is right now.
Okay. The sacred lake sanatorium. A sanatorium. Here.
Sacred lake down here.
Sanatorium is down there
That was over there.
with mud brick and the foundation of fire brick. Then we have the Coptic church, and then we have the Mamisi over there.
We have to get another picture of you because
This is the Quran that you've been on. This is now the Quran.
I don't know what they're exactly saying.
metropolitan it into 12 divisions, where the sky goddess, right here, you can see her feet once more, you can see her head here, breast, leg, barges, representing the 12 hours of the day. If you look at the very first ones, you will see that it is a boy with his finger in his mouth. And then if you look at the last hours of the 12, you find there's an old man on a stick. Remember the...
Yeah, but this is straight. Yeah, this was a spiral. Square spiral. This doesn't seem to be worn down as much. That's about really the only real difference.
Imagine working in the dark to make these things.
I know, the conditions they went through in some of these.
Huh?
Okay, here we have the figure of Cleopatra, famous figure of Cleopatra. And Ptolemy. Next to her. And there's some, this is it. Here. Oh, here. This is the cup at the that cup.
Carries the hottest name.
Which one is Cleopatra?
Goddess Hathor, Isis, the spout, rain spout.
Oh, I like
A gargoyle. Very, very. Yeah.
That's the lion on the rain spout.
Look at the ends of the staff
We don't
that
see
they're
it.
carrying.
I'll show you where.
We don't have to. You don't have to. You're not wanting
As a chapter in prehistoric times, because Hathor is one of the very early goddesses to be known in the Egyptian pantheon. And actually, she is the one painted on the boats that are carrying sand. And the earliest evidence of a temple standing here goes back to the Pyramid Age in the 26th century BC. But these temples were always renovated or replaced by a more modern version of the temple. And here, the one that's standing dates to, as you see, the earliest date we have seen of the other temples is Cleopatra VII, with Ptolemy the 11th, and it goes into the time of Caesar.